Oh, Todd Strain, we are live. It is the On Friar podcast. I'm Derek Togers, and as you can see, sitting where Mike Schilt will be sitting later this evening after he hopefully and his team beat the New York Mets. It is Thursday. Anybody watching on our live stream, welcome. Anybody listening on the podcast, welcome. Thanks to OG's for sponsoring this impending disaster. Hopefully not. If you like food, which I assume you are if you're a human. If you like sports, which I assume you are because you're listening to a sports podcast, go over to OG's, check them out, get some food, watch some sports. So without further ado, that's all out of the way. Quickest intro ever. Walk up music. Let's talk some baseball. All right. By the way, if you all are watching on our YouTube live stream, you can get in the comments. You can ask us some questions. We had a really good time last week talking and shucking and jiving with y'all. So thanks for jumping in there whenever you can. Todd Strain, how are you, man?
I'm doing excellent. I don't think you should call me Todd or Todd Strain because where you are sitting right there at the Shilty podium, I got to be Toddy, right? Toddy.
Is it Toddy or Strainy?
Strainy, either one works. Though, you know, one time he'll go Toddy, maybe Strainy. There you go.
Because you do, I mean, you got, Crony and you got Bogey. So he will go first name or last. You know what? That goes back to like old school baseball nicknames, right? Where basically you just chop off some part of the person's first or last name and add a Y to it. Like my nickname growing up was Togi. Right?
Togi. There you go.
Togi.
Derek wouldn't work. Derek wouldn't work. Togi.
No, exactly. Derry
money.
But also it got shortened because of Togi Berra, because I also said a lot of really dumb crap, which obviously has not changed in my lifetime. So it's quite a fitting one. Now, Todd, what was your nickname growing up?
Leisure.
Okay, can you explain that, or is it this is like a PG-13 audience?
No. I played point guard, and when they would full court press me, I'd be casual, just bring it up, trust my handles, round the back, through the legs, work it side to side. The press didn't bother me. They called me Leisure, Derek.
That's actually pretty good. Much better than Leisure Suit Larry or anything like that. Okay, so we got the Padres coming off a 3-3 week, lost a series in Colorado because of course they did. We're not going to spend too much time rehashing that. Coors Field is just a death sentence for these guys. It always has been. It always will be. They're 38 games under 500 since Denver got a baseball team.
Wow.
In Denver, it's just throw it out the window. It's like baseball on the moon. We talk about it. Taking 2 out of 3 from the Twins. That's the important part. Todd, how big was that series for this team?
It was huge because the Twins are a good team, and those games they played, they were close, tight games. They reminiscent of the type of games you're going to play in the postseason, where it comes down to the late inning. You need some good efforts from your bullpen, and you need clutch key at bats. And the Padres got those for the most part in the first 2 games. The third game kind of an outlier, but those first 2 games were reminiscent of what you're going to see in the postseason. And no surprise, heck, the Padres have been playing great, and they played great, and they met the moment. I thought, Derek, I was really impressed. How about you?
Yeah, taking 2 out of 3 from the Twins. You're going to do that. I think the safest bet in Major League Baseball on Wednesday was the Twins are going to win that game because they're a really good baseball team. They're going to the playoffs as well. They might win the Central if they can track down Cleveland, which is a distinct possibility. So, they're not going to allow themselves to get swept. They're too good a ball club. Winning that series, especially in the way that they did it with the comeback win, with Manny hitting a bomb to tie it, Pro hitting a bomb to go ahead. That was awesome. That's the kind of team that this is. And you're right. You're winning series. You're stacking series wins. And just the way that they're able to go about doing it, winning these close games. They're never really there was time I was entertaining yesterday when their down was like 10-2 or whatever it was. I'm like, they could come back. Like you start that thought comes into your head, and then Merrill hits a bomb. You're like, oh, here we go. Whereas pretty much any other season, you're like, if it's down by 8 runs, you go find something else to do. But this team, you can legitimately think, you know what? The way these guys swing the bats, this is a legitimate possibility. And that's a really fun thing to be thinking on a day in, day out basis.
100%. And they're getting key moments late from different guys. It's not always, Jackson Merrill, of course, gets all the headlines for his late inning greatness, but Machado's hit to tie that game on, in the second game of the series was huge. And then Profar coming up big. Peralta, Solano over the course of the, since the All-Star break, all those guys have come up big at key moments late in the game. So it's not just one guy they're relying on. As we said, Jackson Merrill's getting the headlines, but it's a total team effort in these late game, close game situations.
All right, now we enter a series. I'm going to tell you right now, Todd, and I said this on the last podcast. This 8-game stretch you're about to embark upon, we're taping this at 5 o'clock p.m. right now on Thursday, hour 40 minutes before first pitch to start a 4-game series at home against the New York Mets before going on the road for a 4-game series in St. Louis against the Cardinals. I'm going to tell you right now, and I said it last week, this is the most important stretch of the season because you're talking about two teams that are right on your tail, who are in the playoff hunt, and the Mets especially, because as we all know, Todd, we're talking about the Diamondbacks and the Braves, even looking ahead of us a little bit to the Dodgers, who, by the way, all of a sudden have gotten healthy, and what do you know? They have the best record in baseball. So again, as we've been trying to say, it's going to be hard to run those guys down because they're not going to fall back completely to earth. So you start looking at the wild cards that we probably should have been looking at the entire time. Anyway, the Mets are the last team out of the playoff hunt. 1.5 games behind the Braves, who have the last playoff spot. 5.5 behind the Diamondbacks and the Padres, who were tied for the number 4 seed. This is why this series is so important, because you start talking about magic numbers and actually clinching a spot in the postseason. It's the last team out you have to worry about, right? That's how it works. No more teams can come back and track you down and knock you out of a playoff spot. That's why this one is so incredibly important. You got swept in New York. So even one more loss in this 4-game series, you lose the season series. Therefore, the Mets have the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So, hey, a 4-game sweep would be fantastic. But even if you just split it 2-2, you've kept the Mets 5.5 games behind you. So they can't gain any ground against you. That's like the baseline of what you have to do here. If you can win 3 out of 4, you're putting a serious dent in the Mets postseason hopes, or at least of them catching the Padres for a postseason spot. That's why this series, and it's amazing. I talked to Sean Reynolds, a relief pitcher, who was awesome on Wednesday, by the way, with 2 2.3 innings of when they really needed somebody to just give them innings. He did a fantastic job. The 6'8" rookie, who could probably also be a tight end. He's a big dude. We're talking to him about the importance of this series. He's like, man, they're on our heels. Like, this feels like this is October vibes.
Yeah.
We want to try and knock them down. We want to try and knock them back while still getting a few games on the Dodgers, but they are very keenly aware of what this series can mean, both swing it one way or swing it the other way. Can we let ourselves understand the gravity of the entire series, or do we have to do what, of course, obviously, manager Mike Schilt said when I talked to him about it, he said it's dangerous to start looking ahead and seeing big picture. You got to go day by day and take care of today and then worry about tomorrow at another time. I think that's a great talking point. From a human nature perspective, I'm not sure it's possible. I think we should embrace the fact that this is a big series and revel in it and go have some fun with it. What say you?
100% agree with you. This is a big, huge series. It's a fun series for so many reasons. First off, it's the Mets.
Yeah.
So they're an interesting team. There's a little bit, not bad blood, but there's a little bit of
2022.
These teams have kind of gone after each other a little bit. There's also the other thing. They're from New York. They bring a lot of buzz and a lot of juice, and sometimes Petco Park is popping with Met fans. So that'll be exciting. But first and foremost, Derek, it is a big series for all those reasons you laid out. You are competing right now with the Mets for one of the wild card spots. They are a 4th team, as you mentioned. You laid out how many games back and everything they are. If you have a super series, take 3 out of 4, you are essentially bearing the Mets. You are saying you are not our competition for this spot. You're making it very hard for the Mets to get into that wild card mix. Anything less than that, a split or something like that, you're okay. But if it goes the other way, if for some reason you get swept or you lose 3 games, all of a sudden you have introduced the Mets into the playoff race with the D-backs, the Padres, and the Braves as one of 4 teams that are real contenders. And now you have 4 teams for 3 spots instead of 3 clear favorites. So it is a huge series. And I know, as you said, Schilt likes to take it game by game. But at this point of the season, it's okay, I think, to look at the totality of the season, to assess your place, specifically with who you're playing this series and who the other teams are, and kind of assess and take in. Like, this is big. Embrace it. We're going to meet the moment Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to take each game by game, but we're group it together, and it's a big series, big moment. And I agree with you. And the series after that, no rest because you got the Cardinals, and it's pretty much the same situation as the Mets. So an 8-day stretch that is critical to how the late season is going to play out for the Padres and how much they'll have to push for the postseason versus cruising in, setting their lineup, pitching staff, things like that, resting guys, etc.
After this series, there'll be 30 games left in the regular season.
Okay.
If you have a team down 6.5, maybe 7.5 games, that's a huge number versus 4.5, maybe 5.5. It makes a gigantic difference. You're getting down to this few games toward the end of a season. So yes, just from a mathematical standpoint, this is a huge, huge series for this ball club as we move forward. And you got the Cardinal series after that. And it almost seems like inevitable that the Cardinals with Mike Schilt, he'll be going back there as a skipper for the first time. Like that's going to mean something just from that perspective. But then we're talking about the playoff picture. Remember, the Nationals for a time were in the playoff hunt. The Padres took 6 straight from them, knocked them out. The Pirates for a time were in the playoff hunt. The Padres took 6 straight from them, knocked them out. So I talked to some guys in the clubhouse about, hey, being in that experience, having that, being in that situation and really ending a team's season. You've done it a couple of times now. Can you apply that situation and that experience to this situation? Granted, it's a little different because they got swept in New York and they feel like they have to a little give back, I got a little something for you after that sweep at Citi Field. But can you take that experience and apply that to here? And we know we can close teams out. And that is, I don't care if it's a playoff series or a series when you're trying to knock a team out of playoff contention. If you know that you can perform well in those situations, which the Padres have done twice now, that's a huge feather in your cap moving forward. And it kind of makes these series, you're not gripping the bat quite as tight, not turning it into sawdust. You're a little bit more loose. You're feeling like you can go into every game and win it, which is what they've more or less been able to do most of this season. So that's another factor as we move forward here. They've been in a situation where they're able to take a team and throw them in their rearview mirror permanently. And this is another chance to do that.
It is another chance to do that. And you touched on it briefly, but you said there was a juxtaposition between you're out at Petco Park before this Thursday game. You said there was a juxtaposition between the importance of the series from what Schilt thought versus the locker room. Can you tell me more about the locker room, the players? And you touched on it briefly with just one guy, but they were all embracing this series, right? And embracing the moment that this series presents, correct?
Well, some of them will give you the talking points, right? Hey, you know what? It's one day at a time. It's a 162 game season. And that's what they need to say. Yeah. And then the camera turns off. And then it's like, this is awesome. And every single one of them to a man said, I'm so happy we're doing it in this ballpark because this place is going to be 40,000 plus every single night. And you're right, Todd, you touched on this too. It's not going to be like it was prior to 2020. Where they get 40,000 in here for a Mets series, but 30,000 of them are wearing, New York Mets gear coming in here and rooting for the Mets with obnoxious accents saying stupid jokes. It's not going to be like that because it's going to be a majority of Padres fans because they've turned this place truly into a home field advantage because the Padres have shown the city of San Diego that they're trying to win and they're giving us some exciting baseball. And the city of San Diego and the fan base here says, hey, you know what? You invested in us, we'll invest in you. And we're seeing that now. And this symbiotic relationship between the players and the organization and the fan base is incredibly unique. And it is just awesome to see. So the guys are saying, this is a chance, man. Like this, I think it was less the opportunity to not to take a big lead as it was the fear of letting them creep up and giving the Mets too much of a berth and letting them get too close. That's probably more of the motivating factor, but all of them are like, dude, we got to win the series by taking it each game at a time, but you also cannot simply ignore the fact that yes, these 4 games mean more than others. And so even the series before this against the Twins, which is an American League opponent that is not knocking down your door to try and knock you out of the playoffs. Like this series is it's just different. It's 4 of 162. And that's the beautiful thing about baseball. The Padres right now in the middle of a stretch of 18 games in 18 days. None of them mean as much as these 4 games right here. It's the math. It's the way the season is shaken out. It's the fact they got you when they were in Citi Field. You even talk about, like you said, 2022. There's still people still very much remember them. Buck Showalter sending someone out to check Joe Musgrove's ears. Like that's still fresh. And by the way, that other team over there has Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. Like they come in here with some superstar caliber players like the Padres have. This is just going to be a fun baseball series. It's one of those things, like, you don't get this a whole lot during the course of a baseball season. But this weekend, Todd, I'm telling you, is walking around this ballpark feels different. It just feels different in the clubhouse. It feels different. Even the music they were playing pregame was different. They're playing Motown, like old 60s. Yeah, Motown 60s stuff. It was great. I heard the Four Tops and the Temptations and Smokey Robinson. I'm like, this is a cool little different kind of vibe. Almost kind of everybody's kind of like, yeah, man, like we're grooving, like we're ready. This is awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you. This weekend's going to be great. And you brought up the fans. I mean, they are fourth in MLB in attendance so far this year, average attendance per game, which is incredible. I mean, the Dodgers have it locked down and the Yankees are 2. I forget who is 3, but it's a testament to the power of Petco Park and the power of the Padres. And you said the symbiotic relationship. Fans are coming out. They love this team. They like watching this team. And it is going to be off the hook this week. And they're going to raise their average attendance because these 4 games are going to be packed and Petco Park's going to be pumping, especially, Derek, if they keep playing that Motown, dude.
That was pretty awesome. Let's go back to Pismo61. Thanks for listening, man, hanging out with us on the live stream. He says, they say, sorry, I'm not going to assume any genders. This is why I like to listen to you guys, because you have a pass to get in the clubhouse to see more of what is going on. We like to bring that to y'all because that's what, these things, it's one of the perks, the perks of the job is that we get to go in and ask the kind of questions that we think the fan base want to know. So we can bring you the information directly from the players' mouths or the manager's mouths or the coach's mouths. We can try and get you and kind of bring you an idea of how a team is reacting to something. I know, by the way, that reminds me, we were out there on the field pregame, and there was Fernando Tatis Jr. not only playing catch, but also sprinting. He was doing some running drills. Schulte said about 70%. But he was out there and running. And so they say he's going to take another round of images to see how things are progressing. But if he's gotten to the point now where he's actually trying to sprint and cut loose with the stress reaction in the femur, that's a massive step. If he does do well with this and doesn't have any setbacks after this, Schulte wasn't even sure if he would need a minor league rehabilitation assignment because that guy can probably fall out of bed and go out and get you a couple of knocks. He doesn't need to find his timing all that much. He will be on the field hitting not just batting practice, but live batting practice over the weekend. So could be getting very close to a return for Fernando Tatis Jr. No update yet on Ha-seong Kim. He is still feeling like the shoulder is sore. He's, of course, on the 10-day injured list. So I'll get more of an update on him when he starts to get to the end of that time.
Yeah, with Tatis, I do not think there will be an extended ramp up. It's not like he's got to, rebuild, strengthen that like pitchers do, or regain their timing or regain their velocity, stuff like that. And historically, through all his other injuries, and he's had a few of those, Tatis, when he's been ready to go, it's a quick return back to the big leagues. Minor league stints are minimal if needed at all. So I'm with you. I think we're talking days, not weeks at this point, and any minute he could be back in the lineup. And what a boost he brings you. Remember, he entered this season as one of the favorites to win National League Most Valuable Player. Everybody said this is his breakout season. He's finally healthy. So you'll be adding Fernando Tatis to the lineup of this team that, as you said, since the second half of the baseball season has been the best in Major League Baseball. And it's an exciting addition. Derek, I hear these people say, he's going to disrupt the chemistry in the club.
Which brings us to Fernando,
our crazy producer.
He always knows what we're going to be thinking about here. See, the question for Fernando is, should there be any concern that Tatis, could disrupt the momentum of the team? That is unfortunately, it's a legitimate question.
And I say no. If Fernando comes in, and it's not going to be because of the momentum or Fernando disrupts clubhouse locker room or the vibe. He's been with this team throughout his injury. He hasn't been, away from the team. He's been with the team. He's been in the dugout. it's not going to be a big change. If there is a change in their record, that will be because of things that happen on the field, not off the field. That is my opinion. It's just my opinion. You may feel differently, but I think this is not, Derek. It's not like you're bringing in someone who hasn't been in the organization before. You're not bringing in someone via a trade who doesn't know the lay of the land. Tatis knows the lay of the land. The guys who are in right field now, Solano mostly, and
Bryce
Peralta.
Johnson,
Yeah, they're pros. They're old pros. They're not going to get upset by a reduced role. They're not upset enough to disrupt chemistry. I think bringing back Fernando Tatis is only a boost. And if you want to know the real answer, ask the Dodgers. Would they rather have Fernando Tatis come back to the Padres this season, or would they rather have the status quo? I know what their answer would be. Oh no! Oh,
I want everything you say makes sense. Everything you say makes perfect sense. Yes, I need to see what happens if he comes back and goes 2 for 18, because as you know, he has such a big personality that when things are going well, he will buoy a lineup for a while.
Yeah.
If things are not going well, he becomes this dark cloud around the clubhouse. We've even seen Manny has played a lot better baseball being around Jackson Merrill, who was up all the time. Didn't matter. You don't know if Jackson Merrill just went 8 for 10 or 0 for 30. He's the same guy every single day. And I think, teams like that and they feed off of that. Toddy is such a big emotional presence that if he does get into a funk, we've seen it kind of drag down the energy level of the team, just like he can raise the energy level of the team. It's the yin and the yang of Fernando Tatis Jr. So if you're talking about a talent perspective, I was watching that man play catch from 200 feet out on Petco Park's outfield today and throwing it on a line with no hop without very much effort. I mean, he's as athletic as can be. He's a physically gifted freak of nature. So talking about a talent perspective and a presence in the lineup, and obviously a presence in defensively in right field, there are very few better. Very few can even match what he can do. It's the emotional element that we've seen too many times. I have to hesitate and go, I gotta see. I've got to see how he reintegrates himself in the lineup in the present. I gotta see it.
Fair. Two different points of view. Your point is valid.
As is yours. I know. I totally get it. You got to figure if he's here for 20 games, it can't possibly be that bad, right? Yeah. But
you know what? There's a lot of people who follow this team very closely who have shared similar opinions as yours. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Best case scenario, Derek, he comes back and he doesn't go 3 for 18. He just mashes and everything's good. Everything's roses with the return of Tatis, but we'll see. There will definitely be some rough stretches. Even if he comes back and plays well, there will definitely be rough stretches where his emotional fortitude and how that impacts the team will be key to being watched in key moments down the stretch and hopefully in the postseason. You're exactly right about that, because we've seen that happen before, and that happens with any team and any player who has this kind of aura and this emotional I don't want to say hold on the club, on the rest of the club, but you know what I'm getting at with that. Yeah,
I do. But now I will say this to kind of go against what I was just saying. Toddy in big games is always good.
Yeah.
Look, in the playoffs, Fernando Tatis Jr. was very small sample size again, but tremendous against the Dodgers and on the biggest of stages. The man's tremendous. So if you're talking about being able to come back for a pennant race, especially the last 6 games of the year where it's 3 in LA against the Dodgers, 3 in Arizona against the Diamondbacks, all of those games are going to mean something. We don't know what they'll mean yet. Will they mean potentially going after a division championship? Will they mean just getting in the postseason? Will they mean postseason positioning and seeding and possibly either hosting the Diamondbacks for the first round of the wild card series or staying in Arizona for the first round of the wild card series? We don't know. We just know they will be meaningful and they're going to mean something. So,
hey, Derek, one other thing on that. And then another key part of his return is something that's very similar to the addition of Luis Ariz. He lengthens the lineup, so he's an amplifier. By putting his bat in the lineup, you don't just boost whatever if he's hitting 3 or 4, whatever or 2, whatever, you don't just boost that position in the lineup. You boost everyone in the lineup, and it alters how the opposing pitching staff have to face each batter for 9 innings. So there's an amplifying effect with his return.
Well, that's an interesting point, Todd. Let me ask you this. This offense is producing.
Yes.
Right. This offense has been really, really good. So when Fernando Tatis Jr. comes back, Luis Ariz, you're not moving him out of the leadoff spot. Jurickson Profar, probably not moving him out of the number 2 spot. Jake Cronenworth has been handling 3 very well. You got the left switch, left, right, whatever you want to do there. Manny Machado 4, Jenner Bogarts 5. You're not moving Jackson Merrill down. Who does he kick down the lineup is the question. And I'll tell you, that's a good problem to have.
Yes.
You can't just go, okay, this guy he's a game wrecker throughout the course of his career when he went healthy. So just stick him in there in the 2 hole, the 3 hole, whatever it may be. That you're going to move Manny down to 5. You're not doing that.
No.
You're going to move Jake down to 7. You can't do that. It's going to be very interesting to see how the lineup looks with him back, because when he left it was a very different looking lineup than what we have right now.
Yeah, and Cronenworth in the 3 hole. The easy answer is put Tatis somewhere up there, at 2 and 3, and drop Cronenworth down. But having Cronenworth high in the lineup as a left-handed bat adds balance to your lineup. So that's a difficult decision.
Ariz left on 1, Tatis right 2, Profar switch 3. Then you go Manny, Bogey, Merrill, then Jake's the odd man out.
Yeah.
But again, if Jake Cronenworth is your number 7 hitter, you've got a hell of an offense.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll just drop Tatis in the 5 or 6 hole and see if he catches fire, and then worry about moving him up later.
I can see that.
As you said, it's a manager's dream to be in the pennant race in August and September and say, "Oh, hey, I got to squeeze Fernando Tatis Jr. into the lineup somewhere."
Yeah, by the way, Pismo61 chiming in again saying Tatis does seem like he does have more highs and lows than most players do, which, it's very true. Also, Daniel Swinson, simply go Padres, which I think we can, that's a sentiment we can all get behind, right?
There you go. I like it. Go Padres.
I honestly did not think we'd go down this much of a Fernando Tatis Jr. rabbit hole during the beginning portions of this podcast, but darn it. When you talk about a guy who's that talented and sometimes that polarizing, can you imagine a team that's going down the stretch run that's got, as guys said in that clubhouse today, October vibes, adding just a talent, a ball player like that for the stretch run in the playoffs? That's something you can kind of lick your lips about, right?
100%. And if you need a kind of hey, what would that look like? Just look up the road to the Dodgers. They were without Mookie Betts for a long time. They kind of treaded water for most of the season. Once he went out, they got him back, and all of a sudden they have regained their groove. And Betts is just getting clutch AB after clutch AB, driving and tying and going ahead runs since he's come back. So that's what you could get with the return of Tatis.
That's exactly why, Todd, in my preseason prediction write-up, you can go back and read her right now on NBC7.com if you could find this. It's been buried by a lot of other stuff. I said Mookie Betts to be the National League MVP this year because he's got all this other stuff around him, but he's the straw that stirs the drink. Best player on the best team in baseball. Look what he even with Ohtani there. Look what that Mookie Betts means to that lineup. And that's why I was just so hard after 2019. I was like, Padres, go get Mookie. You got to go get Mookie, dude. Please trade for Mookie, which they tried to do when the Dodgers outbid them. But that's exactly why. Like, this dude means so much to a ball club. He is absolutely one of my favorite ball players, not just now, but ever. I hate the fact he wears Dodger blue. Absolutely love the man.
He's kind of like the Steph Curry of Major League Baseball. It's hard not to like him. Whatever team you root for, you also kind of like to watch Mookie Betts play and say, hey, that seems like a good guy, a cool guy. I like how he plays.
And he's probably underrated nationally. Yeah. Like Steph, you talk about who are the best players in the NBA right now. You're talking about, like LeBron, Luka, Tatum, whoever you go through, like, oh yeah, by the way, Steph is still here and he's still putting the Olympic team on his back when he needs to. So you talk about the best players in baseball, you think about, it's like this Ohtani, it might take most people a minute to go, oh God, yeah, Mookie's really, really good. Probably because neither guy, Steph or Betts, is physically imposing, right? Like by baseball player standards, Mookie's a little guy. By basketball player standards, Steph's a little guy. But they are just so smooth and so talented and so damn fun to watch. Like I think it's a very apt comparison that you made there.
There you go, dude. Leisure coming through for you.
He's coming through on the basketball court. Okay, so what is acceptable for this particular stretch? Mets, Cardinals, 8 games. What is acceptable? Because I say 4-4.
I agree, because 4-4, these are
two get out of here.
These are teams that are chasing you. So if you just hold serve against them, you kind of you press them down a little bit and minimize their chances of making the postseason. Of course, anything over 4-4, you're doing great, and you're basically eliminating 2 teams and locking yourself into one of those 3 postseason spots. So 4-4 acceptable, Derek. But I think the Padres are better than both these teams. I think they're playing. They have a better roster than both these teams. They're playing much better baseball at this point in the season. I think 5-3 and 6-2 is what Padre fans should be expecting, and this team is capable of doing that, no doubt about it.
5-3 sounds good to me. And by the way, then you look into early September, they play 8 games, 6 against San Francisco, 2 against Seattle in the Vetter Cup. Yeah. But that's another one of those teams that's right there.
Yeah.
The Giants are still on the fringes of the playoff contention. So you can, in the next 3 weeks, vanquish 3 teams that were trying to get your playoff spot. I mean, I always hate it when people say you control your own destiny, because destiny by definition cannot be controlled, but you can destroy the morale and ruin the seasons of 3 teams who are trying to get you. And you can take yourself and put yourself in the playoffs against these teams that are trying to get you. What you do have control of is you have control of their futures. They control their future, and they control the Padres control their own future as well. This is a great situation to be in. And right now, maybe it's because of what's been happening lately. And I know they're not going to play, 800 ball the rest of the way out, but I am really feeling good about the potential for this club.
And more than controlling your destiny against teams you're competing against for the wild card, potentially you could also control your destiny in the National League West if you continue to play great baseball, because they wrap up the final 8 games of the season. I believe, or 6 games of the season, are Dodgers and D-backs. And I think they play the White Sox before that. So you have a real chance to finish with 9 meaningful games that couldn't mean more than just a wild card clinching spot. That could mean playoff positioning and or division ramifications. So control your own destiny, Derek. Definitely.
I will say it again, man. It'd be very nice to have, by the time that Sunday, the regular season home finale is over, that last 3 games at home against the White Sox, who are honestly challenging for the worst record in the history of Major League Baseball, right? They're challenging the 1899 Cleveland Spiders, who lost 134 games. They're challenging them. Like, 18 and 134. They're challenging them for the most losses of all time. Have a playoff spot sewed up. Yeah. Let the clubhouse be all tarped up. Throw all your cheap beer, your expensive champagne. Have your celebration so you're in the playoffs, and then go to LA and try to win a division, and then go to Arizona. If you don't win the division, go to Arizona and try to get yourself another home field for the wild card series. I would be feeling really good about life if they could sew up that playoff spot before having to go on the road against 2 really, really good baseball teams in their division.
Yeah. Those, as you say, on the road, finishing on the road. I said it could be great. It could also be a brutal stretch when you face those 2 teams for the last 2 series of the season. So all the more reason to get things secured and locked down. Hey, I wanted to pick your brain real quick. Lots of talk about Waldron and his struggles of late. I know you follow the metrics on pitching and all sorts of stuff, and I've probably done a deep dive on this, but what is your level of concern about Waldron? I think 4 of his last 5 starts have been, pretty poor after such a long stretch of great efforts from him.
Well, interestingly enough, 23 minutes ago, the Padres optioned Matt Waldron to El Paso.
Oh,
To
well, we were
AAA.
doing the
Yeah.
podcast. Oh,
We were
man.
doing the pod in the middle of the podcast. He was. I was going to get this a little bit later. Yeah, he
Oh.
was also nice. Todd, the transition master, man. I'm telling you, segue king, leisure segue.
Maybe I should have
Logan
Twitter and
Gillespie.
my email open while I do the podcast.
Logan Gillespie was. We saw him around here in the clubhouse, and like,
Okay.
that's curious.
Yeah.
So yeah, Waldron, he was optioned back down to AAA, which I think is probably going to be either temporary.
Yeah.
The knuckleball is so caustic. It's
Yeah.
one of those pitches that if it's going well and it's going well for a while, you can use it and you can ride it for a long time. And if it's not, it's extremely difficult to get the feel back for it. So right now, Waldron's just kind of trying to find himself. He's in one of those stretches where we've seen Tim Wakefield go through it. We've seen Charlie Huff go through it, Tom Candiotti, R.A. Dick. Every knuckleballer has gone through it, right? Where you just kind of lose your feel for the pitch. And you got to try and get it back. So he was optioned on AAA. Logan Gillespie brought up to lengthen the bullpen. This is probably very temporary because it either means one of two things. Either A, they're going to go with a bullpen game when Waldron's turn comes around. Yeah. B, Yu Darvish will miraculously show back up here at Petco Park, which I don't think that's happening in the next 4 days. Yeah. Or C, they're just trying to lengthen the bullpen now, and they needed somebody, and he was the odd man out because he threw yesterday, and he'll be right back off the option list because he's in the clubhouse right now. We saw him walking around. He's not actually going down to AAA El Paso. He's going to stick around. He'll keep working out up here, throw some simulated innings, whatever it may be. He'll still be around. He will get another start for the Padres at some point this year. What he's got to do, and it might be going over to Point Loma's biomechanics lab, get with Arnell, who's been a guest on this podcast, and start working on maybe finding the stride length for the knuckleball. Maybe he's gotten something a little bit just off with the grip, figuring out what it is. If he can harness that back, he'll be right back in the starting rotation again. So it's just one of those pitches that is so tough. That's why nobody throws it almost anymore, because it's so difficult to really throw well and really throw consistently over a 162 game season. Plus, he's thrown more innings, him and Michael King. Remember, they've thrown more innings than they've ever thrown in their major league careers. King has actually thrown 160 plus in the minor league, so he's fine there. This is more than Waldron's ever thrown as a professional anytime in his life. So it might also be just trying to save him, so maybe miss a turn, do a bullpen game, whatever it is. The thing that's curious about it to me is, as we said, it comes in the midst of that stretch where they're playing 18 games in 18 days. So there's no day off here to try and to just miss his term, and everybody else stays on regular rest. So, Schulte didn't really want to talk about it all that much. He just said Gillespie's here, so we'll let the team make the announcement of what's going to happen. So we'll have to see if Waldron's back up and this is just a temporary thing, or if he really has to work on trying to harness that knuckleball again.
Yeah, that's interesting. I could see both things happening, either them bringing him back, but also it might be good to just skip his turn in the rotation, give him some time to regroup, refine that knuckleball, and the Padres would be well positioned with what they have in the bullpen now for a bullpen game. We'd have no concerns about that. I think that bullpen could handle that along with their normal workload, no problem, because of the variety and the depth of the arms that they have down there.
Yeah, the tough part of that too, though, is Joe is still building himself back up. Right.
Yeah.
Musgrove is going to be hopefully up to 90 pitches in his next start, which, as we know, Joe, he can stretch that out into 6 innings and not have any kind of problem. He's gone into the fourth or so, 4 1/3 last time on 73 pitches. If everything goes well with the 90 pitches, then he will have no restrictions after that. So it's curious that you would also do it at a time where you're building a guy back up and the bullpen's going to be used on Joe's day, which, by the way, is Friday night in the City Connects against the Mets. So you're going to have some guys in the bullpen for that day, which is maybe why Gillespie is back up. They got Dylan Cease going on Thursday. That's, in the opener, that's a dude he's going to be really good, get you at least into the 6th, maybe even the 7th inning. You're coming off a day where you didn't have to use Suarez or Scott or Adam, 3 super high leverage relievers. So they're in a pretty good spot with the bullpen, but you can't keep asking guys to cover that many innings. Or they also do have Alec Jacob ready to launch if they want to bring him back for a guy who's been very effective for as a relief pitcher. They got him ready to go, who's optioned in AAA right now as well. So they've got places that they can go. I'm interesting to see where they actually how they utilize the arms that they have available to fill those innings if necessary.
Well, you mentioned Cease, 17.5. That's his over under on outs tonight. This is not a gambling podcast, but I looked at that number and I said, that's going over for sure.
Because 17.5, that's either 5 2/3 or 6 full. 6 full is 18 outs.
I said 6 full for Cease.
Yeah. I am not going to give gambling advice. Do not blame me if this happens to not hit, but I would go over. Yeah, I would. There's no question that I would go over. Hey, Daniel Swenson also chiming in again. Thanks, Daniel. Nice to have you on the pod here. 5-3 and games off the schedule. That's talking about the what the record should be for this 8-game stretch for the Mets and the Cardinals. Basically, 3-1 against one and 2-2 against the other. Hopefully 3-1 against the Mets. That'd be awesome. The fans deserve an exciting winning team. They have done their part voting with their wallets and their hearts. That last second part, could not agree more.
And I want to expand on that more because it was something I've thought about a lot when I've been out to Petco this year and seen all the fans. And you talked about how years ago when the Mets came to town, that whole third base line would be full of Mets fans. And when whatever.
Oh, it was obnoxious.
I mean, there's so many teams where we've seen it. Dodgers, Giants, Cardinals, Cubs come to mind, where the fans would really have a large presence at Petco Park. That has really diminished in recent years, and especially this year. When we're talking about home attendance, for the most part, it is Padre fans, people who live in San Diego, people who love San Diego, people who live in San Diego and love the Padres. They come out and support this team, and it's such a juxtaposition. If you go back to the Chargers, at the end of the Qualcomm days, San Diego had got a reputation as, hey, the fans there just sell their tickets. They don't really care about the Chargers. They offload all their tickets to fans from away teams. And that wasn't sure. It happened a few games, and there are other factors at play there because of Spanos and what was going on with the Chargers. But that wasn't a true look at San Diego sports fans. So what you've seen with the Padres is a true look at San Diego sports fans when a team has a great home stadium, when the team invests in the team. Fans in San Diego will come out and support the Padres or will support any team. And that has been huge, and it's been awesome to see. And it's not just us who notice it. The players notice it. And as you said earlier, it's created a special environment for Petco Park, for fans and players, and for anyone watching the game. And even opposing players have noticed it and are talking about it. And it's such a juxtaposition to me, Derek, from that bad, incorrect rap that fans got at the end of the Charger era.
Todd, that's a great call. And I've said this before, and I will say this again. The city of San Diego and the sports fans here, all they want is for you to be invested in them. If you show you're trying, they will show up. You don't even have to win. They will try. You show up and you try, they will go to the game. Look at when the Chargers were 14-2 and they had Phillip Rivers and LaDainian Thomas and Antonio Gates and Marty Schottenheimer, a capable head coach who everybody knew had a track record. Nobody was selling those tickets. Not even Raider fans were coming into Qualcomm Stadium, which was an absolute dump at the end there.
Yeah.
They weren't even going in and taking over that place. It was only after the Norv Turner years and letting LT walk away and not giving Phillip an offensive line and the Mike McCoy disaster, and then starting to talk about we want to go to Carson with the Raiders. When you show that you're not invested in San Diego will not invest in you. And that should be the case with any fan base. If they're not, like, if you just keep going, because I heard Colin Cowherd talking about this the other day about the Jets fans. Like, the Jets have stunk for God knows how long, and they keep on filling up MetLife Stadium where you're not showing them that there's any, not giving the owners any motivation to try and win. Are you? You're still going to get your money. So what's the point now? Fans have to show teams that, hey, if you try for us, we'll try for you and we will repay you. As Daniel said, we'll vote with our wallets and with our hearts, and we will be with you. San Diego is a prime example of that. Just look at what's happened with the Padres. When the late, great Peter Seidler invested in this team and this community and this ballpark, San Diego en masse invested right back into that product. It's so simple of a concept that I don't know why every professional sports owner doesn't grasp it. But you're seeing it right now at Petco Park, and this is as good as it's ever been here. And I hope it stays this way for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and credit to the fans, because not only are they coming out, it's expensive to go to Padre games. Tickets cost a lot, and once you're there, whether you're buying 1 beer, 2 beers, or more beers, or a couple of hot dogs or tacos or whatever you want,
did you just go Dr. Seuss on us? 1 beer, 2 beer, 3 beer, 4?
Like, how many beers can we go up to? 12 beers? Is that too many? Whether you're buying 12 beers, just kidding.
2 beer, 4 beer, 6 beer, more beer.
Exactly. Those fans, credit to them. They're bringing it in more ways than we can even imagine or really get into in this podcast.
Isn't it great though? But I mean, Todd, you've been to games here, right? And the playoff games, NLCS games. Like, you've seen the playoffs here, you've seen regular season games here, but you've also seen it, back in the Andy Green days. Can you even put into words? I can't. That's why I'm asking you. Can you put into words the difference between just the general atmosphere, the vibe, whatever word you want to use, for what Petco Park was then and what Petco Park is now?
Well, I think it's a passion. Petco Park used to have big crowds, every once in a while, and people would come out and say how beautiful the ballpark is, and it's a great vibe around the ballpark and everything like that. But now the vibe is the team too, and all the fans, and they feed off each other, whether it's endless. Every time ha-seong Kim comes up to bat, they chant his name, whether it's the second inning or the ninth inning. There's just a lot of juice and emotion and connectivity between the fans and its players that wasn't there before. No one was chanting Andy Green's name.
No, it's ha-seong Kim. It was not Andy Green. Andy Green. It was we got to think some folks trying to do some medical type stuff around the giant tarp on the other side here. So I should probably mosey on out of the current spot here, not to give away any state secrets or anything. But Todd, final thoughts?
Yeah, really excited for this weekend because the things we touched on, Derek. It's huge on the diamond. It has huge playoff ramifications, and that place is going to be awesome this weekend. If you have the means and you are available to get down to Petco Park, I don't think if you go down there, you're going to regret it. It's going to be fun.
And it's a chance just to see Manny, see Jackson Merrill, see Dylan, see Joe Musgrove, see these guys. They're superstars on. See Francisco Lindor, see Pete Alonso. There are superstars everywhere this weekend. It's going to be this is good baseball. This is fun baseball. This is 2 playoff caliber teams. One of them is going to get in. Maybe both of them get in. I would guarantee you that one of them is going to get in. Trying to maybe even have a little rematch of 2022 this time at Petco Park though. That would be a very interesting best of 3 game series. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. If you have the ability to get down here, come on down, check it out. Even just hanging out on the gas lamp. Just walking from the parking structure at 2:00 in the afternoon. There are people already walking around with their Padre gear on, lining up, going to some of the restaurants around here. This is an event. This isn't a baseball game or baseball series. This feels, and Todd, you and I, we've been to the Super Bowl, the World Series, NBA Finals. The Olympics. I've been to major events. This feels like an event. This is more than a series or a baseball game. This is different, and it's going to be awesome to experience in downtown San Diego and all of San Diego County.
So what you're saying is there are already people down there having 1 beer, 2 beer, 3 beer, maybe 4 beer before the game.
4 beer, yeah, 5 beer, 6 beer, 7 beer, more beer. Dr. Seuss is the best, man. He taught us how to rhyme.
There you go.
San Diegan.
Love it.
All right, hey, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you to Pismo61, Fernando, Daniel. Thank you guys for chiming in and helping us get through this here podcast. We'll be back again next Thursday. We're here every Thursday, and occasionally sometimes during the week when we have some other stuff like breaking news type things to talk about. So, and you can always check us out on our YouTube channel, NBC7.com. Check out on Friar. You can always see this on our website as well, NBC7.com/on Friar or /Sports Wrap. Todd, this has been awesome, man. Always great to have you pinch hitting. You are the Matt Stairs of pinch hitting for podcasts.
Matt Stairs. I love it. I usually default to the Manny Mota just because he was like, when I was growing up, the prevalent pinch hitter of our decade. But Matt Stairs, I like that. That's better, Derek.
Matt Stairs, former Padre Matt
I
Stairs,
know.
who, by the way, greatest slow pitch softball swing of all time belongs to Matt Stairs. That dude did not get cheated.
I can just visualize in my head Matt Stairs mashing softballs like way over the fence.
Plus, he's a really good dude. You know, I don't think I've ever met anybody from Canada I don't like.
There you go. Win-win.
Canada and Australia. Those two places are pretty cool. Very mellow. Good surfing in both places. All right, we're off the rails now. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you.